bass,
Hello, my name is Clint Wagner. Thank you for taking a watch of my very first dubstep bass tutorial. My artist name is Clint Hammer. And the reason for this tutorial is I created a song called Bass Skanker. A lot of people have asked me how to make the bass, and I'll give you a link to that in the description. So first we're going to create a combinator and initialize the patch. To initialize, just right click anywhere there's not a knob, scroll down to initialize. Then we're going to create a Thor polysonic synthesizer and initialize that patch as well. Alright, first thing we're going to do is click on the mono legato button. This allows only one trigger for note at a time. See, polyphonic, we'll make a chord, we want the mono legato. Alright, we're going to move the range on the pitch bend up to 12, so it can go one octave either way. In dubstep, typically you want to do a lot of pitch bending. We also want to create a glide through the portamento by turning it on and moving that up to around 50 or so. And that's an automatic glide there. Alright, so moving on, we're going to go ahead and open the programmer here. And the first thing we want to do is go down to filter envelope and amp envelope and make sure that the decay and sustain are all the way up, and the attack and release, probably put them around 5 on the attack and around 20 or so on the release. Same on the amp envelope as well. And what this does is just ties the notes together without any clicks or weird pops. Just makes for a smooth transition from note to note by moving the attack and the release up. The decay and sustain, we want to have them all the way up. And that's the sound you get right there. Kind of sounds like a West Coast gangster lead, the early 90s stuff. But alright, so the next thing we're going to do is create our first oscillator. It's going to be a multi-oscillator, and we are going to want to maintain the triangle wave that is preset to. Also, we're going to change the detune mode to interval, and we're going to change the amount from around 20 up to around 30 or so. And you get a pretty cool little sound there. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is turn the second oscillator on, and we are going to load in another multi-oscillator. And we're going to, this time, well, first let's pitch these down. We want to go down to octave 2 on this first one. Now see, that right there makes a pretty cool little dubstep bass sound. You can kind of play with the frequency on the filter. Alright. Now multi-oscillator 2, we want to make the amount the same as the first one. Doesn't have to be exact, just, you know, pretty close. You should be able to get some pretty cool effects with the filter frequency knob on there. Alright, let's move the resonance on the first filter, the low pass filter, up to around 20 or so. And we're going to turn the envelope knob all the way, the envelope amount down to 0. Alright, and then now we're going to put in a sub, which we need to create an analog oscillator. It's going to be from the triangle, we're going to move it to the sine wave. And then we're going to move the pulse width up to about 30, 35, something like that. Just kind of get a little bit fuller tone there. And turn it on. Just so you can get an example. Try to get that cleaned up a little bit. Alright, so super sub. Sounds good. Let's turn the other ones back on. Starting to get kind of a DMB type respace sound, and if you mess with the frequency on the filter, you get a dubstep type wobble. Now let's, I want to bring this one down to 3 for the sound that we're trying to make, which is it sounds like Tibetan monks making a yo-yo type sound. So what we want to do is take the self oscillator on the low pass to 24 type 1, turn the shaper on, and turn the drive up to around 75 or so, 80. And we're going to change that to so now we want to route from the shaper into the second filter slot. To do that, you have to press both of those buttons. And we're going to add a format filter. We're going to bring the gender all the way down. And we are going to let you hear that. Let you get an idea what that sounds like. Pretty cool. So you can get some human type sounds because the format filter is designed to emulate the human mouth shapes for different types of sounds. So the way that it works is it has X and Y. We're going to modulate that using the LFO. So we're going to turn the rate up to, I guess, 1/8 will work. Leave the waveform and everything the same. We want to make this tempo synced. Alright, now coming down into the matrix, we're going to source LFO1, 100%, to destination 1, and that destination 1 is going to be filter slot 2, and then we're going to have it affect the Y axes of the format filter. And then we're going to also have that same LFO drive the X axes by 75% or so, which you do it just the same as you did the Y filter 2, but you're going to put it on the X axis. And we're going to make it 76%. 75 is good. It doesn't have to be perfect. So now you have a very yo-yo type sound. So we're going to turn the chorus on. We're going to bring the wetness down to around, I don't know, probably 40 or so. Next, hit the delay button. And this one you don't want to be too wet, so we're going to bring the wetness down to 5 or 6. And we also want to bring the feedback down below 10, and the reason for that is so you don't actually hear any delay, but it does transport the sound nicely. Keeps it from being too dry. Alrighty, so there's our synthesis. Now we just need to add some effects. So we right click on a place that's not a knob or a slider, and we're going to create a screen for distortion. Alright, now on the screen for distortion, it's essential that every dubstep bass has some type of distortion on it. And we're going to bring the damage control down to around 40, and we're going to select the tape effect. And we're going to move the speed, which is the first parameter, up to around 100. And then the second parameter, which is the compression for the tape effect, since I do not want compression, we're just going to bring that all the way down. Not yet, at least. We'll put compression on later after we built the synth. Alright, so it should be pretty thin right now, but we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of EQ to the distortion. Just offset it by 5 mids down, highs up, 5 or 6 or so, and that should just keep the intensity while taking out some of those harsher frequencies for us to go and notch out later. Not so much take them all the way out, but just get them to where they're easier to take out. So now click the body button, bring the resonance down about 75-80, and I prefer body type E, and then we're just going to turn the level up to around 95 or so. Now you got a really thick sound. It's very, very robust bass going there. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is create an EQ, and we're not going to use it just yet. Before we use it, because we're going to notch out some harsh frequencies, we want to go ahead and create a compressor as well. So right click somewhere on the EQ and create a M-class compressor. Alright, and you can just leave it like that because we're going to come back and compress it later. Right now we just don't want it to peak. So turn parameter 1 on, turn the gain all the way up, and what we're going to do is roll the frequency until we hear ear splitters. Right about there. 2.5 kilohertz hurts my head. So we're going to take that frequency out by basically dropping the gain. Now that we've isolated it, we're going to drop the gain down to completely remove it. Now it's probably going to sound muffled and flat, so you're going to have to turn the Q up to really isolate that frequency that you took out. And to kind of, give back some intensity to the sound, let's go ahead and hit the high shelf button. Well, okay, now hit the high shelf button. Alright, and then we are going to turn the gain up. I don't try to go over 2 decibels, 2 or 3, just enough to kind of bring that edge back. Now let's just add a little crunch. So turn on parameter 2, raise the gain to about 3 decibels, and then you're going to spread the Q out to make it about, I don't know, probably around 2 or so, and just make it nice and smooth. And then what you're going to do is roll that frequency up, until you get the desired effect. Don't go down with it, just go up. You can pass the notch however you want to do it. Just play around with the gain and the frequency. Just try not to go any lower than the 1 kilohertz area. That sounds pretty good. I like that one. Alright, so let's go ahead and add a little more bass. So click the low shelf button and bring it up, 2 decibels tops. Alrighty, so that sounds pretty good. Now let's move on to compression, which will be the final stage of this tutorial. With the in-class compressor, it's a fairly simple machine to use. One thing that we're going to do first is turn the ratio to infinite, which will basically draw a line to where the sound cannot go over. It's almost like a limiter based on the threshold. Then we're going to turn the attack all the way up and the release all the way down. And then we're going to move the threshold to about -16 dB. And what that should do is create a nice compressed bass. And there you have it. That is your yo-yo dubstep bass that can be heard on Bassline Skanker. Now, in order to modulate the speed of the wobble, there's 2 schools of thought. Give me just a second. All right. So the well, hold on. I guess I'm going to do something else real quick. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I'm going to do LFO1 to filter 1 frequency, which is going to basically allow me to really totally control how much wobble and bob there is there. Alright, and then you can play with the waveform on the LFO throughout the construction of the song to really get the dubstep sound of really tampering with what's going on as far as how the bass is being attacked. Best I would say is the waveform. Now here's the cheap way. We're going to take the KB follow with it all the way down. There's no change in the wobble depending on the key. However, when you turn it up, the higher the note, the faster the wobble. It's also sensitive in the middle too, and you can also affect it by the rate. So you might want to play around with that a little bit to get your preferences there. And then the other preferred method would be to actually automate the rate, by creating an automation lane. That would be my preferred method. You just seem to have a lot more control over what's going on in the track. So